So picture this. A body corporate has been carrying a defaulting owner's unpaid levies for months. The trustees kept saying, let's give it a bit more time. We don't want conflict. By the time they finally issue a demand letter, it's addressed to the unit, not the owner's registered address. There's no itemized breakdown, and there's no proof of delivery. The owner's attorney writes back and says the demand is defective. Back to square one.
And that happens more than people realize. The delay cost them time, and then the demand letter itself cost them even more. A defective demand is almost worse than no demand at all.
Welcome to Courtroom Club. Today we're talking about pre-legal demand letters in the body corporate context, what they must contain, how to deliver them correctly, the 5 mistakes that can invalidate them, and what happens when an owner just ignores the whole thing.
And this is specifically for trustees and managing agents dealing with levy arrears under the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act 8 of 2011. It's a statutory framework, not just general collections practice, so the rules are specific.
Let's start with something that surprises a lot of trustees. Issuing a demand letter is not optional. It's not something you consider when the arrears become uncomfortable. It is a legal obligation.
Yes, and the authority for that is Section 3(1)(c) of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act. The body corporate has a direct obligation to require owners to make contributions to its funds whenever necessary. The developer, and by extension, all owners, must promptly on demand pay any monies due to the body corporate. So the demand has to happen.
Trustees owe a fiduciary duty to all members of the body corporate, including the ones who are paying on time every month. When you delay a demand letter, you're essentially asking the compliant owners to carry the shortfall. That's not being reasonable, that's a potential breach of duty.
And one thing trustees often ask is whether they need an AGM resolution or owner consent before issuing a demand. The answer is no. Levy collection is a trustee function. You don't put it to a vote, you act.
In our experience, early inaction is the single most common reason a recoverable debt becomes a crisis. We've been working with bodies, corporate and HOAs since 2002, and that pattern hasn't changed.
Right. So that's the why. Now let's get into the what. What does a valid pre-legal demand letter actually need to contain? Because this is where a lot of DIY demand letters fall apart.
There are 8 elements. First, full debtor identification. The owner's full name and unit number as registered in the title deed. Not the tenant, not the occupant, the registered owner.
Second, the total arrears amount, broken down by levy period. Not a rounded figure, not an estimate. The actual outstanding balance itemized.
Third, itemized charges. Separate line items for unpaid levies covering both administrative fund and reserve fund contributions. Interest at the rate proved at the AGM. And any legal costs already incurred.
And that interest rate point is important. Under Section 25(1) of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act, the applicable interest rate must be notified to owners within 14 days of the AGM. If your demand letter omits the interest rate or applies a rate that was never formally communicated to owners, you've handed the defaulting owner a procedural escape route.
Fourth, a clear payment deadline, typically 7 to 14 days from the date of the letter, and it must be specific. Saying as soon as possible is not a deadline.
Fifth, consequences of non-compliance. The letter must explicitly state that failure to pay will result in legal proceedings, including summons, judgment, and warrant of execution. And here's something that catches people out. You cannot threaten things you cannot actually do. Threatening to disconnect utilities or to blacklist the owner without following the correct credit bureau process or taking action the Act doesn't authorize, that undermines the credibility of the entire demand. and can expose the body corporate to a counterclaim.
Sixth, payment details. Bank account information or clear instruction on how payment must be made and confirmed. Seventh, delivery to the correct address. And we're going to come back to that in a moment because it's a whole topic on its own. And eighth, before any of this, the trustees must confirm the levy was validly raised in the first place. A demand built on a defective levy is built on sand.
That last one is the step most people skip. They assume the levy is fine and go straight to the demand. But if the AGM notice was defective, or the participation quota was miscalculated, or the interest rate was never formally communicated, the levy itself may be challengeable. And then your perfectly drafted demand letter means nothing.
Think about your own scheme for a moment. If you had to issue a demand letter tomorrow, could you tick all 8 of those boxes? That's worth sitting with.
Okay, let's talk about delivery, because this is where we see a lot of technical failures. Every sectional title owner nominates a domicilium citandi et executandi when they take transfer of a unit. That's the registered address for legal notices. That is the address the demand letter must go to.
Not the unit address if the owner lives elsewhere. Not an old postal address, the registered domicilium. And sending to the wrong address means the owner can argue they never received formal notice. The demand then has no legal effect.
Acceptable delivery methods are registered post, which gives you a postal receipt as proof of posting, and personal delivery, which must be confirmed by a signed acknowledgement of receipt or a process service affidavit. Email can be used, but only where the owner has specifically consented to electronic service in writing. Email alone, without that consent, is not sufficient for formal legal notices.
And you must keep a delivery record. Date of dispatch, method of delivery, address used, proof of posting or receipt. Without that record, every subsequent stage of the recovery process is vulnerable.
A demand letter that cannot be proven to have been delivered is legally worthless. That's not an overstatement.
Alright, let's do a quick mythbuster round on some of the things we hear regularly. You ready?
Let's go.
Myth 1. A demand letter interrupts prescription, so we have time. Not true. Under the Prescription Act 68 of 1969, a demand letter alone does not interrupt prescription in the formal legal sense. Only service of summons or a written acknowledgement of the debt by the owner achieves that. You cannot rely on the demand letter to preserve your claim. Legal action must follow.
And there's actually an interesting wrinkle on prescription in the levy context. There's a case, Greenwood Village BC versus LD Reddy, where the court found that because the body corporate is a juristic person, the Prescription Act may not apply to sectional title levies at all. That finding was upheld on appeal at the High Court. So the legal position on prescription of levy debt is not entirely settled. But our recommendation is always the same. Don't test it. Issue the demand, then act on it.
Myth 2. We need owner approval before sending a demand letter. Absolutely not. As we covered earlier, levy collection is a trustee function under the Act. No AGM resolution, no owner vote required.
Myth 3. A lump sum figure is fine. The owner knows what they owe. No. A lump sum demand without a breakdown of levy periods, interest and costs is not specific enough to constitute a valid formal demand. The owner must be able to verify the amount claimed. If they can't, you've given them a basis to challenge it.
Myth 4. We can threaten to blacklist the owner in the demand letter, only if you are actually going to follow the correct credit bureau process. Empty or unlawful threats undermine the demand and can expose the body corporate to a counterclaim. Only commit in writing to what you will actually do and are legally entitled to do.
Good ones. Okay, so let's pull the thread through to what happens after the demand goes out. What's the escalation pathway if the owner just ignores it?
So the demand letter is step 1. It's formal notice, 7 to 14 days to respond. If there's no payment and no satisfactory arrangement within that deadline, the body corporate moves to summons.
Summons is issued in the magistrate's court for amounts up to 400,000 rand, or the High Court for larger claims or more complex matters. If the owner doesn't defend, the body corporate applies for default judgment. If they do defend, it proceeds to trial.
Once judgment is obtained, you can execute against the owner's movable or immovable property through a warrant of execution.
And here's the one that often gets overlooked, and it's actually one of the most effective recovery safeguards available. The body corporate can withhold a levy clearance certificate on any future sale of the unit until all arrears are settled in full. So even if the owner ignores every letter and every summons, the moment they try to sell that unit, they cannot transfer it without settling the debt.
That's a powerful lever, and it costs the body corporate nothing to hold it.
It really is. And for listeners who want to understand the full collection process, from levy validation right through to judgment, we've covered that in detail separately. The link will be in the show notes.
I think what we want to leave trustees and managing agents with today is this. A pre-legal demand letter in the body corporate context is not a courtesy notice. It is a legally significant instrument that forms the formal gateway to levy recovery proceedings. Get it wrong and you hand the defaulting owner a way out. Get it right and you have a clear, defensible path to recovery.
And the integration between the pre-legal process and the legal process matters enormously. We've built our practice around that. Through our debtor management platform, demand letters are attorney drafted, correctly addressed to the registered domicilium, itemized to the cent, and dispatched with verifiable proof of delivery. When pre-legal efforts are exhausted, instructions transfer electronically to our litigation team. No gap, no delay, no lost documentation.
For qualifying levy collection matters, we work on a no success, no fee basis on undefended matters, so the body corporate doesn't carry upfront legal costs. Our average recovery timeline for levy and HOA collections is approximately 6 months from instruction to resolution.
If you remember one thing from today, let it be this. Delay is never in the body corporate's interest. Issue the demand promptly, do it correctly, and then act on it.
If your scheme is dealing with levy arrears and you're not sure whether your demand letter process is legally sound, reach out to us through our website or the link in the show notes. We offer a no obligation consultation and we can take a look at where things stand.
And if this episode was useful, hit follow so you catch the next one. We cover South African law in plain language every week, and there's always something worth knowing.